Yin-Yang was never really about good and bad, angel and villain. And that balance you have always heard about, I think, is incorrectly correct. Even the image you see everywhere isn't a root meaning. The most famous Chinese symbol in this world. Meanwhile, I think it's also the most misunderstood. Even the familiar image of yin-yang we see everywhere was an understanding about this concept created 1,000 years ago in Song Dynasty, way later than this concept appeared. And sometimes this image might refer a symbol of balance, two opposite things. Even with a mystical or superstitious twist, it can stand for the Eastern wisdom. But you know what? All the things I have mentioned above, they aren't the root meaning of yin-yang, but derive from it, just like the fruits growing from this big yin-yang tree. And to find out its original meaning, we actually need to trace back to where this tree was planted. Back when the ancient Chinese lived by farming, by observing the movement of nature, they noticed something different yet always matching. Sunrise and sunset, day and night, summer and winter, crops growing, ripening, dying back, and returning the next year. And then they started to think, do all things follow a single, recognizable pattern? Yes, they do. And not just in nature, it seems also works on humans' daily life. Work and rest, joy and sorrow, tribes expansion and consolidation, inhale and exhale. Everything seems to move between two tendencies, opposites yet complementary. Later on, the legendary ancestor of Chinese civilization, Fuxi, gave this observation a form. He was the one who quietly buried this seed. He looked up to the sky and down to the earth, saw that the season, nature, even universe moves not in chaos, but in a rhythm. Two tendencies, one moving outward, expanding, pushing, creating, another moving inward, gathering, resting, returning. These two forces exist in everything, always interacting, and always becoming each other. So he tried to recognize these two tendencies and gave them a visible form. But at that time, there wasn't even a proper language system yet. So he used the simplest symbols as possible. A solid line for the tendency moving outward, that's the prototype of yang. A divided line for the tendency moving inward, that's the prototype of yin. Since these two tendencies of the same thing could always interact, he started to stock them together. And with that, the first human attempt to understand nature and the universe appeared. Two lines gave him four possible combinations. These four combinations are often seen as the way the sun moves through the day: morning, noon, evening, and night. But for ancient Chinese, the world was always seen in three layers: heaven above, earth below, and a human being in the middle. We receive from heaven, rely on earth, and in the middle, we make choices. So he added another line. With three lines, the combination became 8. And this is the famous 8 trigrams, what we call 八卦 in Chinese. Each of them stands for something casual that we can see in nature: heaven, earth, thunder, wind, water, fire, mountain, and lake. Ancient Chinese used these trigrams to be conscious of how the qi, the energy of nature, changes. Therefore, they used them to determine direction and understand how weather changes. And by learning to follow the natural principle instead of go against it, they realized that this principle was also can be applied in human life. So it was also used for shaping ethics and social order, feeling how energy moves through the body, and even telling fortune. At this point, the Yin-Yang tree began to grow and strengthen day after day, but wildly. Why? Because not everyone could understand these symbols, let alone find the deeper meaning in them. Then time moved on to the late Shang dynasty. If we say Fuxi was the one who planted the seed, then King Wen of Zhou and his son were the first gardeners. By expanding the 8 trigrams into 64 and adding meaning and interpretation to each one, they were no longer just symbols without words, but something people could study, record, and pass down through language. And that is how the I Ching, the Book of Change, appeared. They pruned the wild growth, watered it carefully, and made a path for others to walk beneath it. But sadly, at that time, this path seemed only belong to nobles and shamans. That's because the spirit of that age, people were deeply superstitious. So the I Ching was often used for divination, fortune telling, even sorcery. The original intention of Fuxi, King Wen and his son to help people understand the right way to live and the principles of human conduct quietly drifted onto another path. It was like the tree was still growing, but people hung charms on its branches, hoping the fruit would immediately change their lives, forgetting that the real gift was always in its root. So then, our beloved figure, the ancient Chinese star, appeared, Confucius. In his later years, he began to study this book deeply and found endless wisdom in it about following the natural order and learning how to live well. He once said, "If I had a few more years to study the I Ching from 50 onward, I might avoid great mistakes." Therefore, he and his student wrote the Yi Zhuang, a commentary to explore the deeper meaning of the I Ching, to show people that this book is not just divination, but about learning from the principle of how nature and the universe changes, how to cultivate ourselves, and how to behave in society, and how to govern. Here's a fun fact that some famous saying we still hear today, like 一阴一阳之谓道，天行健，君子以自强不息. All came from their interpretation of I Ching instead of the book itself. They wanted to show people that this book isn't a superstitious book of sorcery, but a philosophy that anyone could learn from. It was just like as if they set up a school beneath the tree, teaching people how to treat this Yin-Yang tree properly. From then on, the tree kept growing, its roots spread, and its branches reached far and wide. Eventually, new trees grew from it, what we now know as Taoism, traditional Chinese medicine, Confucianism, and more. They may look different, produce different leaves and fruits, but I believe their deepest root all comes from the earliest seeds, the pattern of Yin-Yang that Fuxi buried. So when people nowadays call I Ching the head of all Chinese classics, I think it's truly deserved. From the changing pattern of the universe, we could learn something about how to nurture health, how to conduct ourselves, how to bring harmony to society. Quietly, this shaped the entire Chinese civilization. I think it also explains why China doesn't have an official religion for over 5,000 years. Just imagine, what if Fuxi once said, that the power of Yin-Yang came from some god instead of the universe itself. So that's where the concept of Yin-Yang and the book I Ching came from. But now you might be wondering, as normal people like you and I, how could we learn something from it to improve our everyday life's quality? Now let's forget all the Yin-Yang image you have seen and all the theories you have been told. It's never about a dead, static balance, but a dynamic motion that keeps everything in harmony. Here's my first real understanding of Yin-Yang. Embrace yourself.